what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Trader Oz here. A question was asked in the Thelema group on Facebook this morning, and I wanted to respond to it, but it's kind of difficult for me to type in the group and stuff while I'm on the road like this. And I thought that other people might benefit from this. And although I spoke in somewhat detailed fashion about it in one of my Oz Speaks episodes, I wanted to just make a little quick video talking about it. And the question was, first of all, he feels like people kind of avoid the questions when they're asked, or that it makes them feel uneasy. And, you know, there's reasons for that, you know, depending on who you're talking to. But anyway, the question basically was, what is the true will, and how is it achieved? And then also, how does it relate to the great work, and what is the great work? In order to really talk about this subject, it's important to make the note that the words true will do not appear in the book of the law. And, you know, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that it appears really in the holy books either. True will, and this phrase that we use, true will, is something that is kind of fabricated after the fact, okay? Now, with that said, the way that most of us perceive true will is that is an overarching goal, or it's a goal. It's a goal that you have decided is your primary goal. Okay, that's what the true will is. It isn't some spiritual, mystical thing, and it really can't be boiled down into a straightforward answer. And that may be why people are uncomfortable answering it, because it's not a straightforward answer. Because if we look at what is said in the material, you know, as I mentioned, true will is not really a thing, but will is. And as I said in the Oz Speaks video, will, this idea that now the word pure will is in the book of the law, the phrase pure will. But will in itself is a verb. It is not a noun. Now, we often use it as a noun when we use the phrase true will. But the reality is that will, in a Thelemic context, is a verb. It is an act of being or becoming. And Crowley touched on this in many places. He talks about how being, the state where being is becoming, and becoming is being, or that change is stability, and stability is change. And so we have to realize that will is not only a verb, but it is dynamic, meaning that it changes from moment to moment. It evolves as an individual, evolves as a person, as your will, or your true will, and if you want to use it in the context of a noun, maybe to be a doctor, okay? You've decided that you would be really good at it, and you're super interested in it, and you're passionate about it, and that's what you want to do, is be a doctor. But in 5 years, that may completely change, because your will evolves. It is a state of becoming, and what you are evolving toward may change, you know, based on your life's experiences. Okay, so that's how I would like to put forward the idea of true will. It is a goal that you have defined for yourself. It's not a supernatural state or a thing that you can discover with a tarot card reading or some kind of divination or whatever. Now, knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel may help you to determine a goal that is really, you know, more true or more suited to your nature. But in reality, true will is something that's going to change and evolve most likely throughout your life. I hope that to the great work. Well, again, the great work also is not some supernatural thing that can be defined. And that's again, that's probably the reason why people kind of shy away from the question, because the great work is different for me than it is for you, than it is for anyone else. The way I like to think of the great work is that it relates to true will, okay? It relates to will in the sense that your will is going to define what your great work ends up being, okay? But the great work is something that can only be defined in retrospect. In other words, in order to complete the great work, you must die. That is the completion of your great work, is death. Okay? And then, once that has occurred, you can look back on, people can look back on your life and see what your great work was. What was kind of like your legacy, what did you leave behind for the world, the things that you accomplished during your lifetime is your great work. There are, people may define it in different ways. This is how I define these things. The great work is something that is achieved in death and can only be judged and viewed in retrospect. Now, I can look and I can see what my achievements and stuff have been in my life up thus far, but who knows what will happen into the future and what my great work will actually become, and what my work in life will be perceived as by others. So the great work is kind of a way of saying what was your legacy during your life. I think that the only way that they really truly relate is the fact that your true will and what you determine, the goals that you determine in your life and how you pursue them and how you pursue your will is going to eventually define what your great work was. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that answered the question. I'll be posting this in the comment section of that thread.